What's up, my friend? How you doing, Tero?
Good. Enjoying Austin. It's so cool now here. It was last time I visited, it was so hot and stormy.
Yeah, we get seasons, actually,
Yeah,
kind
I
of.
love it. LA,
Yeah.
you don't.
Yeah, it's not like being in Aspen, where you
No,
really
it's
get
not.
seasons, but, we get some.
Yeah. I grew up in Finland, so I had all of the seasons, but now it's in LA.
Kind
There's
of. Most of
basically
it's just like cold and dark as shit, and
Yeah,
then
it
sunny
is.
and bright as shit, and everybody's happy as fuck.
Yeah, touche. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. 24 hours of sunlight or no sunlight.
That was the craziest thing when I was in Gothenburg. It's just, I guess, probably similar to
Yeah,
where
Finland's a
you're in.
little further up north, but similar.
Yeah, a little bit further.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'd go to the bar. It'd be light at like 11, and then we'd get out at 3, and darkness, we just miss it entirely.
Yeah.
Just
The-
gone.
Yeah, and the winter is the opposite.
Yeah.
You see the sun creeping up a little bit,
Yeah.
and then it goes down again.
They have weird things with alcohol there. Do they have weird things with alcohol in Finland? Like,
Yeah, dude, it's like that's actually relevant to all the mushroom stuff as well. Is depression is it's a real thing when you have that seasonal depression because of the darkness. You get no
Yeah.
vitamin D, so a lot of the indigenous people use mushrooms to get vitamin D, but also
and is that D2 or D3?
well, that would be D2.
Yeah.
So, but it's still like if you have no vitamin D, even if the absorption is not ideal, it's still one of the sources how you get vitamin D during the winter. And then obviously,
And also, different types of mushrooms are
oh
very
yeah,
good at
you're
curing
wearing
depression.
an Amanita muscaria
Yeah.
pin that was used in one of our biggest holidays. So we have two big holidays. One
Called
is
Christmas?
Christmas, or it was one day kind of different with the Gregorian and calendar and the Julian calendar. So there was like one day difference almost to the current. But yes, so that was like one when there was no light at all, and then midsummer is the other time when we do magic. And the two times when we do magic is when it's the day's the longest and day's the shortest.
That
And
makes sense.
Makes sense. No.
So, are you pretty well versed on this Amanita Christmas Santa Claus?
I'm solid.
Kind
I'm
of
definitely-
Genesis? All right. Why don't you just drop that on us for anybody who hasn't heard it? It's one of Joe Rogan's favorite things to talk about.
Yeah.
So you might have heard it already, but let's hear it from the Mushroom Man himself.
So let's start with the ending is that Santa sold shrooms. So basically, how we think of Christmas is mostly brought to the U.S. by the Dutch. Dutch stole it from the Germans, St. Nicholas. The Germans took it from the Russians. Russians took it from this indigenous group of people called Sami, S-A-M-I, that in the northern Norway, Sweden, Finland, and kind of the northwestern part of Russia, they live. And that's, by the way, the area where reindeers are domesticated. Reindeers don't live in North Pole. Okay, so this is Arctic Circle, super high up north, and they would have this indigenous group of people, and these original Santa Claus was shamans, basically that would heal common ailments. You had a issue with your leg or you had a flu.
Just like the plant doctors all over the world.
all over the place. So probably 99.
Curanderos, vegetalistas,
Yeah.
Siberian hut shamans.
Exactly.
Same thing, different indigenous
And
plants.
that's why they say Santa Claus lived forever, because there were so many of them.
Yeah.
And there would be generation after generation. And the whole color red came later. They would not wear red. They wear blue. There's a little bit of red in their outfits, but mostly blue. And they would travel.
I'm fucking rocking a blue Santa Claus. I'm going with the throwback jersey this Christmas. Anybody want to get authentic as fuck? Go throwback blue Santa Claus and be like, bitch, know your history.
Yeah, totally. And they would go from village to village with reindeers. That was one of the big domesticated animals. There's 7 to 9 large domesticated mammals.
Did
And
they have one with a brighter nose that
yeah,
would
exactly.
lead the way in the dark?
Well, that gets to later in the story.
Okay, shit.
So
This story's getting
so
better.
the shamans or the Santa Clauses would go around and pick wild herbs and mushrooms, and in September, October, they would go into the spruce tree, which is the Christmas tree. So if you go to, let's say, New York, and you see this big Christmas tree, and it's a Norwegian spruce or something like that, and underneath that grows Amanita muscaria or fly agaricus, which is the red mushroom on your iPhone. On your
Also
shirt.
on my
Yeah.
little shirt
So-
pocket thing here.
Absolutely. So it is the red mushrooms with the white dots. The whole Amanita muscaria family is kind of toxic. Some of them are even lethal, but this one is poisonous but not lethal. You're not going to die from it. And it has special powers that we'll get into later. Anyway, so you pick it up under the Christmas tree. So that's why a lot of countries, the presents are put under the tree. Or then because you serve it in, end of December, you have to dry it. So that's why it might be on a sock on top of a
Oh
fire.
man, everything makes sense. Even
Yeah.
the fucking socks.
The socks
It goes so deep.
So
I didn't
anyway-
think it went so deep.
Yeah. Anyway, so you dry it, and the Sami people. So this spruce is one of the holy trees. It's like Avatar. The Na'vi people would have this holy tree. It's one of the holy trees, and
Because it
and
provides these gifts
yeah,
every year.
and yeah, it's a special tree. And then the star on top of the Christmas tree is the Polaris, the brightest star in the constellation. You would use it to navigate. It's a GPS, basically. And
man, you were sandbagging us when I said, how good are you on this fucking Christmas story? Because you're really good. Like, you got this one down.
Well, now we get to the stuff that a lot of people don't know. Like, so the red balls in your Christmas tree were the Amanita muscaria. So what the shaman would do is called a butterfly loop. So you would have a tree, you have to dry it. And if you don't have fire, you would just put it, the mushrooms on the tree and let the sun dry. That's how the vitamin D is created. Mushrooms are similar to animals in the way that they cannot produce their own food. They need external food sources, but they can also create things through the skin, same way as we assimilate vitamin D from the sun. Mushrooms can assimilate vitamin D from the sun. Mm-hmm. So you sun dry it. So you take the biggest tree, the biggest spruce that has a lot of sunlight, and you start putting amanitas that you find in the Christmas tree branches. And you start making butterfly loops around it, and you start you take a loop, come back to the main tree, take a loop, come back to the tree. So eventually there's a tree somewhere with 100 amanitas hanging from the Christmas tree branches. So even if you go back to the German stories, you still see kids holding the amanita. So that a lot of these traditions either changed or got left over along the way as it went through Europe and eventually the US. But if you go back to the German photos, you see little kids with the amanitas.
Yeah.
So anyway, this is Santa drying out, the shamans drying out these mushrooms, and then this other main holiday of this winter equinox, comes and there's a lot of snow. You're so far north, and you would travel with the reindeers, and you would get to the village, and they would have this huge teepee, almost like a yurt meets teepee. It's called kota, Kota, and it has a hole on the top because you need fire. It's freaking cold, so you need fire inside. And if there's a lot of snow during the night, you can't enter. The kota has like a really low entrance to kind of crawl in.
Are you about to tell me they come through the chimney?
They come through the chimney. So, and then you would do a ceremony. We don't really know. They have this drum that has afterlife. They make a little round drum, and you draw in like the underworld, which is death, which is obviously a common thing with psychedelics. Is like how to handle death and how to come with the grips of dying and getting comfortable with that. One
of the master fears we all have to grapple with.
And I think that's one of the themes around psychedelics, generally just around death and life and death, and that seemingly binary, thing, but it's necessarily not. So then, and they would have this ceremony, and they would probably see reindeers flying and Santa leaving.
So we got to get into that. So, and did they also deliver? I heard that they delivered. Sometimes the hut shamans would deliver gifts to kids as well.
So this was originally the psychedelic mushroom of Amanita muscaria is technically the first Christmas present. So Santa sold shrooms is not fully correct because it was a gift.
Yeah.
So, but that was the original Christmas gift.
Yeah.
And then, and they would obviously have other gifts as well. It's like a celebration. It was a holy time. But the fascinating part is obviously the fact of Amanita being slightly poisonous. And now we're going to enter a pretty crazy part about some of these shamanistic traditions that like not often are discussed in today's world of ayahuasca being popular and whatnot is urinotherapy. Are you familiar with that? Have you heard?
I am.
So unfortunately, Amanita is poisonous, not lethal, but it's going to make you sick. So depending on the tribe, the strongest male or the weakest woman would be sacrificed, and they would eat it and get fever and get sick. And
wait. Why would it be the strongest male or the weakest woman?
Well, a strongest male could take it the best.
Yeah.
Because it's the strong, so you can handle being sick. A weakest woman was the most
dispensable.
Well, dispensable.
Oh, Jesus.
Then we get sick. Everybody else would drink the pee. So actually, the Amanita muscaria, the psychedelic compounds get stronger. It's almost like an extraction, like you do with some herbs. There's distilled, but it also removes the toxicity of it. So everybody drinking the urine would not get sick, and they would get extremely high.
Because the kidney filters out the toxicity.
Yeah.
Now, as far as the mechanism of action, Amanita is not a classic psychedelic. It's a GABA agonist, if I have that correct, which is similar to what alcohol does, but or GHB if you're into other recreational drugs. But it has a slightly different flavor because there is a psychedelic component. Now, I haven't experienced it just because I haven't found the right pee vessel and figured out how to dry it right. And it's a process. I would do it like if you were like, hey, man, come over to my crib. You can drink my pee. I'd be like, all right, I'm in. But that's a sign of like how healthy I think you are. Also, I may be totally wrong.
Yeah.
You may be just fucking eating packaged macaroni and cheese. I've never eaten with you, but but yeah, I would do that, but I haven't gone through the process. However, some of my buddies have, and I've gotten texts from them, and it wasn't like psychedelics. Generally, people are very lucid, and what they say, I just take a seat and listen, and I'll take notes because they're tapped into something. These guys were talking about like battle toads, and like they were just not on the most like spiritually grounded.
It's a dark one.
Yeah.
Like obviously everybody will have their own experience but it's not the one that you start out with.
Right.
It's not the one-on-one.
So you've experienced this.
Yes.
Yeah. So walk me through like how would you describe it? Like how would you compare an Amanita experience to anything else?
Well, first of all, you can have it on a microdose. So it's not impossible. So you can have it if it's dried really well, you're not going to get toxicity. I'm not as big into like microdosing and that kind of stuff, but I have a few friends who actively microdose on Amanitas, and it does make like flavor stronger. And so it's like you said, it's a darker flavor. On the experience, how I would say is obviously everybody will have their own experience with psilocybin. So like you never know whatever you're processing, but I would say psilocybin is a happier connecting with the universe, being one is a theme of like being connected.
Yeah, unity to all things, the plants, the earth, the animals.
So let me just give this, I don't think it's a surprise that these Sami people talk about underworld and death and demons.
Right.
So I think that's probably kind of a clue that what you might see.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because you think about like the life cycle of, in general, like for alcohol, for example, like alcohol is created in the death cycle.
Yep.
And so it can tend to create some darker impulses.
Yep.
When I say dark, I mean just on that other side rather than these kind of light, life affirming. Yep. It's more in the, violence and more aggression and some of that the dark side that alcohol can tend to bring out. And I
so that's how I would describe Amanitas.
Yeah. And then on the GABA side of this as well, and even, GHB, same thing. Anything that acts on that mechanism seems to steer people that direction, whereas the serotonin mechanism seems to steer people towards that kind of hard opening, lighter mechanism.
And you need both, but I probably wouldn't start there, and I would be extra careful where you do it.
Because it can be more scary, especially if you're not experienced in navigating those worlds where the demons come. Like if you still have any fear associated with that, then the fear will trigger this kind of spiral.
But this mushroom is not illegal. So
you can order this mushroom. I think I ordered mine on, I don't know, somewhat like iamshaman.com or something like that. Little shop or Bouncing Bear Botanicals. Those are two places I used to shop at. But I think one of them is out of business now. But anyways, it's interesting that it would be that different experience that kind of correlates with just a different life cycle, different neurotransmitter.
Yep.
But certainly something that I'd be interested in experimenting with because, I have plenty of my share of seeing the dark side. And there's a beauty in that as well, especially if it doesn't trigger the fear.
Yeah.
Like if you see it and you get terrified, then you're going to have a horrible trip.
And you also have to understand that this was usually taken at the darkest time of the year. It's almost 24 hours of darkness, but you see the stars and you're connected and there's like snow. It's like, it is like the underworld of death of the year. And then January starts the new year, slowly the birth. And then midsummer is like the peak, and it's just that circle of life.
Man, those pagan rituals were dope.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a shame that our rituals are so empty and vapid. Like we took this very meaningful thing with a potent psychedelic mushroom and a huge tradition around it, celebrating seasonality, time of year, themes, dealing with your death, the underworld, and we just fucking hallmarked it. And now it's just nonsense. It's a completely meaningless holiday. And then not only hallmarked it, but then like religiousized it.
Yeah.
How do you say that? Religiousized it?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm English is not my first or second language, so I have no
But
clue.
whatever, like they just kind of like co-opted it.
Maybe you've looked into it, but it was like seems like, San Pedro, like you have experience with that. So it's like they gave you like, okay, we're not going to ban you from this substance. You love this substance so much, but want you to adapt Christianity or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So you can have it. Let's just change the name and do this and that.
And then eventually the sacrament gets weaned out of it. And then it just becomes empty. Totally. Same with every single holiday from fucking Halloween to, Easter to all of the different holidays that correlated with something ultimately that began as meaningful. But we even do that with our own ceremonies, like wedding ceremonies. There's like wedding factories here in Texas where like you just show up and everything is just choreographed, cued down to the thing. It's like a standard script. Here's where the people sit. Here's the buffet menu items.
Yeah.
Here's the jokes that we're going to make. Here's the time that you cut the cake. Here's where you have your fake cake fight. Here's where you have the photo of the fake cake fight. Here's where you have the daddy-daughter dance. Here's the 5 most popular songs, blah, blah, blah. You could literally go through there, multiple choice it, and fucking you're out of there in 30 minutes. Peace, bitches. I'm married, And it's like, I've been to those.
Have you?
I've been to those, and I just look at them. I just get so disappointed. I'm like, where's the fucking meat of this
even,
thing?
Even the first time I came to the U.S., I would tour all the national parks. Just fascinating, the drive-through national park. You go to Yellowstone, everything. You're not leaving the car. You're just driving through a bison. You're just driving through. It's a funny experience.
People like these kind of like really shorter loop stuff, but the real value comes from when you vary from the path, when you carve out the time to drink someone's urine and visit the underworld.
Not everything is bullet sizable. The other phrase I like is going to the church or wherever makes you as much as a Christian as going to the garage makes you a mechanic.
Right.
So just the act of going somewhere and being in a place doesn't make you that. Like you have to live it and be it.
Yeah, there's a joke amongst some like true Christians who follow like the Christian mystic tradition. They'll have the common saying, the hardest place to find a Christian is in the church.
Wow.
Just because the religiosity and the judgment and some of the things that develop around a structure like that lose the true idea of, Yeshua's teachings, which is God is within us all. We are all the same. We're all,
and what
fundamental principles.
Saint Assassin, or how do I pronounce that correctly?
Assisi?
Assisi, yeah. In Finnish, it's something totally different. I'm not surprised. But they said that when he learned more about faith and his own faith, he got quiet. The older he got and the more he learned, less he talked about it. It was his personal journey within, and it was not a journey to the.
And that's it. It's just talking about the direct experience versus the learned experience. Something that someone else has told you, or something that loses the meaning. Like for any kind of deep spiritual process, you need to feel it. Like someone can tell you about it, and it's okay. That's cool, know. But then when you feel it and experience it yourself, it goes from this idea to a knowing, and then once it's a knowing, then it can start to actually guide your life.
Yeah.
But you have to feel and touch it. And I think that's what's missing from all of our holidays, all of our rituals, all of our ceremonies. And that's, I think, why some of these things are really coming back. Like you said, ayahuasca. And I wouldn't be surprised if there starts to be some more of these other kind of pagan rituals.
So do you think that now that gets more popular, someone makes it a process? Same way as it
kind of already is.
The wedding
the UDV. I mean, I haven't sat with them, and I know a lot of people get a lot of value out of that. Yeah. It's still ayahuasca served, but it is a very ritualized process where you drink the tea in a very specific amount, a very specific brew. You stand up at this certain point, sit down at this certain point, stand up. But the ayahuasca is so strong that despite the like real process of it, it's still ayahuasca, right? Like they haven't taken it and made it diluted, dirt tea.
Yeah, my friend is a professional snowboarder, and he also likes to skate and surf, and he often talked about snowboarding as what makes snowboarding special is, unlike surfing, you go and you wait for the wave. Sometimes you don't catch it, sometimes you do. But if you catch the great wave, it's the most amazing thing. Snowboarding, you're guaranteed to get an experience. Yeah. So that's how I think of like surfing, like meditation, and then psychedelic is like snowboarding. You're guaranteed to have some. You're coming down. Either you're rolling down the hill. Yeah. You might have your leg broken, but you're coming down. You're not staying up there. But meditation, you might sit there and nothing happens. So
that's true. Yeah, I've been gravitating more towards like the embodied meditative practices. So like ecstatic dance or yoga or.
But do you think it's easier to do that now that you've had these other experiences and you have framework?
Sure, but I've also led those practices like breath work, ecstatic dance. And people reliably get to really interesting places. Like the mechanism of using your body and music to create trance, like body plus music plus dance to create trance, to create altered states of cognition and brainwave patterns. Like that's proven. That's been around forever. So you can actually use that to help guide your meditation. But certainly getting in altered psychedelic states have then informed everything else as far as like, what are the goals? Where am I trying to go? When I'm doing any of these practices, I'm just trying to get out of my head.
I'm going to say the most woo-woo thing of today, but I don't care.
I'll try and top you. Let's see. We'll have a challenge.
My friend has had now 4 babies, and every time after getting the baby, his partners had a child together with them, he goes out walking in the forest and he sees trolls, and says like, a week after having a baby, the DMT is so high naturally in his body that he sees these creatures in the forest.
Whoa!
And like a week after, he doesn't see them. And first time he was like, "What's going on?" Then it happened again, second baby.
And he's not even carrying the baby, obviously. So
no, not at that age, no. So, but it's fascinating of like even that ecstatic dance and all that stuff, like such a compound like DMT is, how can we generate more of it on a daily basis? But
right, yeah, there's so many endogenous. That's one of the things about DMT is it is an endogenous compound, and so hypothesis and dream state and dying state and all these states where you get these massive DMT releases, potentially explaining some of the alien abduction stuff. Though there might be fucking aliens.
Hey, who knows?
I don't know.
Who knows?
We'll see about that. I want to talk to you a little bit in Shift Courses about, because you're also an entrepreneur. Started a dope company with products that I use and a bunch of people use. I'm drinking them right now. A combination of your reishi and your chaga and your cordyceps mushrooms.
Triple
for
shot.
Sigmatic. Yeah. And I mix them.
It's one of those those days when you need a triple shot. Yeah,
and I mix some exogenous ketones and some of our MCT oil in here.
Yep.
And it's fucking good.
Your MCT is great with those.
It is.
It's so easy to travel with as well. And
yep. So, you obviously had an affinity and an understanding of the medicinal power of mushrooms, something that probably you were familiar with. And then also, a general understanding of business. And then you went about forming this brand. Take us a little bit through that process, because this is the classic kind of entrepreneur's roadmap, where find an interesting thing that you know about, and then apply all your business skills and make a brand and build this up.
Yeah, so I think there's two folds to that. Is one, to think of it as you need skills. Like, I'm a 13th generation family farmer. My mom who taught physiology and anatomy, would take me and my brother foraging, and I went to an environmental school where we forage for things that my great-great-granddad started. So there's all this lineage of knowledge. So you need that knowledge to truly create products, understand what's hype and what's not. At the same time, in today's world, you can learn that. Like, you don't have to have lineage to be in topic area expertise if you just talk to the right people, and read the right things.
It's helpful though.
It is helpful. It gives you an advantage. The second thing is, like, you have to love something to go through the tough times. Before we start, I told you a story about my friend who used to buy your products and way back and when, and you were personally emailing them. It's like, hey, the shipment is coming. I'm getting it out. And there's a lot of those early days, tough times, especially if you don't start with tons of like venture funding or whatever.
Yeah.
And just put a lot of heart to it. You need that to get through the tough times and hopefully create something that will outlast you.
And did you start with venture funding? Or?
No.
Yeah.
We didn't. Like, I would have not even known how to get any venture funding.
Right.
But I think if I would have gone, is that like, hey, do you want to invest in us drinking mushrooms?
Yeah.
I mean, with some exceptions, I don't think a lot of people would have gotten that.
Not then. Now might be a different story. There's probably some venture-backed mushroom companies.
Yeah. Consciousness is growing for sure. And so those are the two things. Is like, I had this lineage, but I also had the passion to go through the tough times, and I wanted to create a product that I enjoyed. And I would buying like mushroom extracts from these random websites that who knew what was in them, and opening capsules into my smoothies. And I was like, you need to make this easier. And even if I found a great product, either from the wild or from another company, is like, I try to give it to my friends. And I've been coaching like pro athletes and models and whatever. They were like, that's so shady. Will I get high? What's that? Like,
sure.
Can I, like, what about drug test if I'm an athlete? You're familiar with that. Is like, they're extra careful about, the safety. Is like, what if they fail a drug test or something like that? So for those reasons, I'm like, hey, you got to make this more legit. So it's not like I am the greatest mushroom expert who's ever lived. That's not the point. We're both standing in the shoulder
Nobody's
of a giant.
Paul Stamets.
Yeah. And even he's not the guy of all time. There's people that have dedicated their whole life on just single mushroom, and they're
that's deep.
Yeah,
their whole life on a single mushroom.
And
specialized mycologists.
Yeah, exactly. And those people are more knowledgeable, but it's not that knowledge alone will take you. You have to find ways how you make it more accessible. So if the information about functional mushrooms or any truly healthy food, it's not enough to educate them. You have to make them taste good and easy to use and all that stuff. And so that was a lot of the journey. Like the first products we made taste horrible. It's like just figuring out how to like make these super, super, super bitter compounds into something more palatable. That was a challenge. Then also messaging, like how do we explain something that is like an adaptogen who by definition is non-specific.
Yeah.
So technically if somebody asks like, why should I use cordyceps? What balances your body? Like, what is that going to mean? So then you have to go back to research and say, it's like, how does it balance body? What are the energies that it creates? Okay, it's definitely like a performance. So now you put it performance. But technically, if you have a very balanced body, you could have cordyceps at night. It's not, it's an adaptogen. But
yeah,
like
it's not a stimulant.
Yeah, but you have to kind of like put it in an occasion that people are familiar with. Like not everybody has.
And that's why you call it like pick me up cordyceps or something like that?
like unfortunately, most of the world doesn't have on their calendars blocked out a mushroom tea time. It's not, but they have a coffee time. They have a workout smoothie time. So rather easier to just incorporate it into those moments and try to make it like more accessible and less scary. And
yeah, I think that's what you're doing is, I think a mistake a lot of people make is you can assume that the market is as passionate about your product as you.
Yeah.
That they're just going to do all the research and they're going to get super excited and
Yeah.
they're going to hypothesize about all the places. No, probably not. They have their own shit that they're excited about, their own shit that they're passionate about.
Yeah.
You got to make it easy. And I think that's something that both you and I have done successfully.
And then there's always the challenge of like, how do you show the love you've had? Like they say that expert becomes an expert by reading everything that they can read and studying all that they can study. But they get paid to be an expert by simplifying it into a one small thing. So if you read all this stuff about MCT and you source and you looked at different options and what's the good quality, what's the bad quality, how do we work this? And then you say, here, this is the jam. This is what you need.
Yeah.
But it doesn't come from like, or this is what I want to sell. Like I went through all this other stuff or Alpha Brain.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know how many formulations you went through.
Dozens and dozens.
Like Hupertia, like I've had it too much and then I can't sleep because I'm like dreaming.
All jittery and anxious
like,
and fucked
so
up.
what's the right dose? And then
if you take too much Hupertia, you can even have like a nicotinic reaction, which was some of the early batches of Alpha Brain were so strong, like people would react as if they kept a big wad of Copenhagen in their mouth and it was the first time they ever had chewing tobacco. You could have a similar reaction like, you took 2 Alpha Brain, no. Like there goes the next 2 hours.
What's the craziest is the intuition though. Like I think internally we know what works, but like you work on the recipe on yourself and your friends and you figure out this works. I feel there's something here. And then years later you get scientific review that this works. But it was intuition. Like if we forget all this, because science is not the truth, it's the search of truth. It's like the pursuit of truth.
Or the validation of truth.
Yeah, correct. And we're trying to get there, but it's not the ultimate truth. So sometimes like intuition and tuning within and listening to your body will have those answers. But sometimes it's kind of hard if you're in this.
Yeah, science is a limited body of research that currently exists. It's not that if it's not in the science, it's bullshit. And I think people have that. If it's not in the science, could be bullshit.
Yep.
Or it could have just not been studied.
Well, even the time I've worked with cordyceps mushroom, it's been renamed 3 times. And every time they're like, this is it.
Yeah.
And then like a few years later, like, joking, we don't know. So like, who knows? At the end of the day, the Latin name, the official name keeps changing,
Yeah. What is it now? Still sinensis?
No. So as cordyceps sinensis, sinensis means from China, and then it became a cordyceps sinensis, and that was like a different strain. Now they figured out that it's a totally different type of on the sinensis family, but they're almost saying is that even that is not the actual one. There's hundreds of varieties of it. We use one militaris, which is not,
and that has an ant. Symbiotic relationship.
So that's the fruiting body versus most of the sinensis products have mycelium products. But at the end of the day, even the strains, like I get Peruvian cordyceps. Not a lot of people know that there is but it grows in high altitudes all over. So so we're just discovering. So like, who knows? But you have to kind of apply to FDA. So you have to kind of say what it is based on the current knowledge. So we say cordyceps militaris. So because based on the current knowledge, that is what it is. But what we know is that it works.
Yeah, no doubt. And the research is, continually getting better.
there is. It's not one or two papers, like 1,000.
Yeah, yeah, and that's always good. We're about to publish. We released, but we're about to publish in a peer-reviewed journal some of the results on our cordyceps-based formula, Shroom Tech Sport. So we're able to show improvements in high-intensity interval training, a variety of different performance.
And it's also the
gains for that.
stack, like it's synergies.
No doubt.
And,
other adaptogens in there.
Yep.
Some different things that we put into vitamin B vitamins and things to all kind of harness this together. And that's another thing that you guys do that's cool is I really like the blends that you've come up with where you're getting a variety of these mushrooms and then putting them in blends, so it's even easier than opening up the individual packets. It's like, all right, I want the 7 mushroom blend or the 5 mushroom blends or the Viking superfoods. I use that one in my berry smoothies 'cause it's a little tart.
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, I would just want to sell everybody like a 2-pound bag of mushroom extract, but they're not going to use it because compliance is everything. If it's not made easy and combined in these synergistic recipes, most people don't know how to use them because like really 1 + 1 is 5. If you combine the right stuff like vitamin C, B vitamins, all this kind of stuff, adaptogens.
Mm-hmm. Now, let me see, if this understanding correlates with your understanding. I was working with, in our Shroom Tech Immune formula, we have a variety of different mushrooms, different mushroom blends from, chaga to reishi to lion's mane, a lot of the ones that you produce. And when I was talking to the head mycologist who was trying to explain this in layman's terms, he was saying that the immune benefits, partly that you receive, although chaga has some other particular unique immune benefits, is largely derived from some activity of the immune system in correspondence with the beta-glucans in the mushrooms, in which the body recognizes those as foreign entities and then starts to prepare their innate immune system response. And because it's actually not a pathogenic molecule, these beta-glucans have no other harmful effect on the body, you end up generating more immune cells that can be repurposed for other immune challenges. So it's like kind of keeping your standing army more ready and able to address any other future
totally
concerns.
True. So first on a high level and then to the specific of mushrooms, that's it's almost like a hormetic stressor, same way as turmeric. Mm-hmm. It causes, or a workout will temporarily make you weaker, but it doesn't cause any, unless you injure yourself or you have some crazy other stuff happen, you're not going to hurt you and you can recover fairly quickly and then you hit a new level. So in this case, they are like a boot camp for the natural killer cells and cytokines, and they activate them, or more specifically modulate them, immunomodulation for the own immune system. So same way as almost all the best things, they don't heal anything directly. They just help give the body the tools to be stronger. Mm-hmm. And basically everybody's going to get, this is a little aggressive statement, but everybody's going to get cancer every day.
Yeah.
But some of you will have basically immune system and can fight it and destroy it. And cancer here being like a foreign object in your body, foreign, cell that is an intruder or pathogen or whatever. And so just having that activity there is so important. And autoimmune is the opposite. If your body's confused, it's too active. And when it comes to mushrooms, the top mushrooms that you mentioned, like cordyceps, chaga, reishi, lion's mane, I call them like the ninja turtles. They all are ninjas and turtles, means they're all mushrooms.
You should have colored them in Ninja Turtle colors,
Yeah, they almost are.
They are.
Yeah, there's purple. We need to change that.
Need your Raphael. That was Donatello, the purple one.
Purple, yeah. So basically, they're all ninjas and turtles. They're all mushrooms that help with the immune system and gut health. They're amazing for the gut. The beta-glucans get absorbed in the colon. And there's in the last few years, there's an incredible amount of research on...
Colon, for...
Sorry. Yeah, like I said, English is not the first or the second language. And that helps the gut biome. So there's tons of research now coming out with medicinal mushrooms and the use for the gut. Mm-hmm. And but what they also do have this special weapon. And so like cordyceps is clearly this sport performance, and lion's mane is brain function. And by the way, that could be used with magic mushrooms as well, combined to create a stack there and stuff like that. But point being is that they're all similar in the way that they help with the immune system and gut health, and that's their.
And you're talking about the secret weapon. You're talking about particular other compounds besides the beta-glucans that might be found in there. Like some strains of cordyceps have adenosine in them, which can help with ATP production.
Correct. So that would be an example that you cannot find that in other compounds, or they would have exceptionally high amounts. Like chaga would have SOD, which is a type of a superoxidase dismutase, which is a specific type of very strong antioxidant. And that can help with, let's say, lower inflammation or other things like that. So.
Yeah, and one of the things I talk about in my book in the lunch chapter, I kind of spread out the nutrition philosophy out throughout the main eating portions of the day, is about eating weird foods.
Yep.
Because when you have a really varied diet, then you're getting all of these weird, super nutrients that you wouldn't normally get. So foraged mushrooms, these exotic mushrooms, you may not know what it is, but when you go deep in the produce section, you can pretty much assure yourself that in most cases, and even in the meat section, if you're eating organ meats or different shellfish, or be aware
sea veggies.
Yeah, sea veggies. There's going to be little super nutrients that you probably don't even know about, but you could research if you brought up the Google there. But just the idea of varying our diet, because the average person eats like almost the same fucking 10 foods like their whole life.
And this is something we can agree on with almost everybody in nutrition and health, is like we battle that should you eat plant-based or meat, or should you be high fat, low fat. There's all this debate on internet that people love to go back and forth. But we agree that we should have diversity in diet. And
there's studies showing benefits to gut health, benefits to immune health, benefits across the board.
How much did indigenous people, when they nibbled on all this stuff, how many different species and DNA and like this knowledge, this intelligence of different plants they absorbed throughout the year compared to what we have now? It's kind of incredible. And I believe that some of these mushrooms, like functional mushrooms like cordyceps, they remind you of the intelligence of all fungi, you know? And this is, again, a little woo-woo, but they have this knowledge, and you have this small amount, and you tap into this intelligence that is sometimes yet kind of hard to define. We can talk about B vitamins and D vitamins and, beta-glucans, but I believe they all have this everyday magic in them that you can't yet describe in words, but they remind you of this intelligence of this planet.
Yeah, mushrooms are just a funny organism.
Yeah, they are.
It's just a very unique.
You're half a mushroom. I'm a half a mushroom.
Yeah. Well, because of all the fungus that we have in our body. Yeah, naturally.
Yeah, and we share half of our DNA with them. That's why fungal medicine is so bioavailable, because we share so much of our DNA with them.
Yeah, I think I've gone full mushroom.
Oh, you're gone.
I've gone 100% mushroom on occasion. Not that I recommend going 100% mushrooms. Good to keep a shred of humanity there to help navigate the system. But certainly, clearly, can be massive allies for us, whether you're talking about the psilocybin mushrooms in the right set and setting, or whether you're talking about these medicinal mushrooms, or if you're just talking about delicious fucking shiitake mushrooms.
Oh, yeah.
Cut
Shiitakes
up
are amazing.
in butter and sea salt, grass-fed butter and sea salt. Like, yeah, for sure. They're just I think they're finally getting their moment of recognition. It really seems like, they've
hopefully.
Well, even talking to Whole Foods, because we're getting a lot of our line into Whole Foods, and they're looking at, what the biggest categories are, and they're like, medicinal mushrooms so hot right now. And we're actually trying to partner with you guys.
Yeah.
But you're like merchandised in a different section.
We're in both sections, actually.
Yeah. So there was some shit. We're gonna make some MCT, elixir shakes. And they're like, it's merchandised in the wrong category. We gotta cut through the bullshit.
Yeah, let's just give it to the people. What the people want,
Yeah, the people want. People want fucking MCT oil mushroom elixirs.
And if they don't know it yet, they will.
They will.
We'll make sure they know.
Yeah, it makes a difference. I think it's one of those products that I tried it, and somebody just handed me a packet, and it was the mushroom coffee.
Yeah.
And I think it was maybe Ben Greenfield who gave me the first one. I don't know who it was. And you kind of vibe with it, and especially if you understand the mushroom story, then it's like it's something that you start to adapt into your daily regimen.
It reminds you, it's almost a homeopathic dosage.
Yeah, for sure. Well, what else, brother? Anything else on your mind you want to share with the people of the world?
No, I guess the mission I'm on is just the mushroom mission, reminding people that, hey, mushrooms are not necessarily better than other food groups, or that they're not a cure-all, and not all mushrooms are good for you, or not.
Yeah, don't go picking up the stuff in your grass.
Yeah, and even if you get the right mushroom, there's the right time and place for it. But what I'm saying is that they're quite overlooked, and you should give them an opportunity. And if nothing else, read about them. And, they are linked with the environment. They're linked with how plants collect water. They're linked with the knowledge of this earth. And this is not woo-woo thing. This is literally like if we go to particle physics and we start talking about energies and all that stuff, that's actually like grounded on science. And if you start looking at mushrooms, you're going to realize that a lot of biology, for example, is based on fungi and learning from that. So that's just the only thing I want to say is like, give mushrooms a chance, basically.
Give mushrooms a chance. And check out his book.
Yeah,
this looks cool. Yeah. Got a bunch of cool recipes in here too.
Yeah.
different like elixirs and foods.
So go buy Shroom Tech Sport and make cordyceps on the beach.
For sure. Buy some Four
Cocktail.
Sigmatic. Have both available. Sometimes the pills are helpful. You don't have to mix anything up. Sometimes you can take the mushroom straight. But we're both huge fans of this. Enoki mushroom fries. They look so good.
So if you have mushrooms, by the way, if you buy, don't eat raw mushrooms. Utilize heat and lipids. So fats, like you said, sauteing butter. So that's how you unlock their health benefits, and their power and the flavor gets better. So use plenty of fats and heat if it's a soup, or you saute them, or you put them in the oven. But just make sure there's fats and heat applied to them.
Yeah, that makes sense. I can't wait to try and convince Kyle Kingsbury to take a big dose of Amanita so I can drink his piss on fucking Christmas. We're going deep. He's the strongest.
Lapland. Come to Sami people Lapland. We'll do a trip, and we'll see the Nordic Lights, stay in an igloo.
That sounds pretty good.
Hit up the reindeers.
Drink some piss.
Yeah, huskies, all that stuff.
I'm into it.
Yeah.
I'm into it. Well, thanks for stopping by, brother.
Thanks for having me.
It's been great. Everybody, check out his book. Four Sigmatic is the company. And where can people find you on the socials?
I am Tero, Tero.
Boom. He is. You are Tero. It's true. It's tautology.
Yeah, it's fair.
Fair statement. See you, everybody. Peace.